The plan in motion. Chiron, let's come up with a plan, Mordred announced to her apprentice, her tone brimming with mischief. Yes. Chiron's eyes sparkled with excitement. The thought of executing a rescue mission felt like something out of the secret agent movies she had enjoyed with her friend Le Fay in England. The thrill of it sent shivers down her spine. But the illusion was short-lived. Chiron, you take care of rescuing the fake queen while I cause trouble. Got it? Mordred's blunt directive shattered her expectations. Sighing, Chiron realized she shouldn't have expected anything else from her teacher. Mordred rarely wasted time thinking things through, preferring to charge into battle with brute force. Chiron didn't dislike this style. It was the same one she'd been trained in, after all. And the adrenaline rush of close combat was incomparable. This plan was simple. Mordred would create chaos while Chiron executed the rescue. All right, time to get to work, Chiron said, masking her presence and moving toward where the guards had taken Valerie. As she distanced herself from Mordred, the chaos began. Mordred kicked a table with enough force to send it flying, taking out several vampires along the way. What the hell? Marius froze in shock, his eyes darting to the commotion. It took him a moment to recover, during which the screams of terrified guests filled the hall. Guards, activate the alarm, he shouted, motioning to the soldiers beside him. But before the guards could respond, Mordred's great sword impaled their hearts, dropping them to the ground in an instant. The room fell silent, everyone too stunned to react. Those armors are pathetic, Mordred said, breaking the silence. Obviously, mine is far superior, clad in medieval-style armor, with 2 horn protrusions on her helmet. She cut an imposing figure, standing over the bodies of the fallen vampires. The silence quickly turned to an uproar. What's going on? Are we under attack? We're not ready for more bloodshed after the Teep's coup. Marius found himself face-to-face with the knight, whose mocking demeanor was now replaced by a cold, unyielding presence. The aura emanating from her made his knees weak. What does this mean? Who are you? Marius demanded, his voice trembling. Mordred glanced toward the distance. We'll talk about experience points later, Master, she muttered under her breath, mentally addressing Draco through their master-servant link, which spanned the distance between Japan and Romania. Then she turned her attention back to Marius. Master has forbidden me from revealing my identity, she said, yanking her sword from the chest of one of the guards. Let's just say you're all screwed. Marius' face twisted with rage. Well, what are you waiting for? Slay her. The guards hesitated, but moved forward reluctantly as the screaming intensified. Some stayed back, firing shadow attacks from a safe distance while shielding the terrified guests. The chaos escalated. Mordred danced through the fray, dodging attacks with ease and skewering vampires left and right. Her great sword moved like a spear, piercing hearts with precision. I'll deal with you later, Mordred told Marius coldly, making it clear she intended to save him for last. Panic overtook Marius. He barked orders for the guards to protect him as he fled. Once inside his chambers, he barricaded the door with furniture, his fear palpable as he worked. The door shook violently, cracks forming as something heavy slammed against it repeatedly. Ignoring the muffled screams outside, Marius transformed into a swarm of bats and escaped through a window. Mordred sat casually on the remnants of a broken table, ignoring the desperate pleas of the surviving vampires kneeling before her. Their trembling forms littered the floor, begging for forgiveness. Mordred's eyes scanned the room, satisfaction evident in her smirk as she took in the bodies of the guards who had dared to follow Marius' orders. That was quick, she muttered, stifling a yawn. Her mind wandered back to the strange messages she'd been receiving during the battle. Master has received 200 experience points. Each kill had triggered a similar message, and Mordred had cut her mental conversation with Draco short to focus on eliminating the vampires. Now, she reopened the link. What are these experience points, Master? She asked curiously. Draco's voice resonated in her mind. You know how my strength increases with every enemy I defeat? That's because I gain experience points, which help me level up. Once I reach certain thresholds, I can evolve and grow even stronger. Mordred's eyes lit up. So, by killing these bloodsuckers, I'm helping you get stronger? Exactly. A feral grin spread across her face. A stronger master meant a stronger servant, and with their combined power, no war could stand in their way. Putting that aside, how's Chiron doing? Draco asked. She's rescuing the Holy Grail girl. It shouldn't take her more than a few minutes. She's gotten strong, Mordred replied, her pride in her apprentice evident. The cold descent. The frigid air bit at Chiron's skin as she descended the dungeon stairs. The silence was broken only by her soft footsteps and the occasional groans of the guards she had knocked unconscious along the way. Without torches to illuminate her path, the dim glow of her night vision transformed the darkness into a faint twilight. One of the many skills Kuroka had taught her during their year of training was the ability to see in the dark using senjutsu. It was proving invaluable now. Reaching the bottom of the stairs, Chiron found herself in a corridor lined with cells. In one of them, a blonde vampire stood, his gaze sharp and hostile as he assessed her. "Who are you?" he demanded, his voice dripping with venom. "You first," Chiron replied coolly, masking her emotions as Mordred had taught her. "A stranger should never catch a hint of your true intentions in conversation, ensuring the upper hand in any exchange." "I am the lord of the House of Lottie," the vampire declared. "Now answer me. Who are you?" "None of your business," she said with a shrug. Chiron had no intention of revealing her identity. She was under strict orders to remain anonymous, even concealing her face to avoid leaving any trace of her image. "What do you want, then?" he pressed, his tone growing impatient. "Valerie Teeps. Where is she?" Chiron's words were blunt and direct. She had no desire to linger in this place any longer than necessary. Everything about the vampires disgusted her. They were even worse than the rumors suggested. The vampire's lips curled into a sinister grin. "Ha ha, so you've come for the Holy Grail. I'm not sure how your organization learned of that girl, but it doesn't matter. She was taken from here a few minutes ago. If you don't hurry, you'll lose her. Marius is clever, and he's backed by someone powerful." Chiron nodded, wasting no time. She sprinted in the direction the vampire had indicated. A fierce kick shattered the door to the library. A guard holding a long spear entered first, his eyes scanning the room cautiously, his weapon poised to strike at any threat. He glanced over his shoulder and signaled. "The room is clear, Mayor Marius." Marius stepped inside, shoving an empty sack into the guard's chest with enough force to make him stumble. "You know what to do," Marius snapped, picking up an oddly shaped gem from a nearby table. "I have someone to speak with." The guard frowned. "What should I put in the bag?" "Everything," Marius replied curtly. The mayor activated the gem. A faint glow enveloped it as he spoke into the artifact. "Euclid, we're under attack. A powerful knight with horned armor has appeared out of nowhere and killed all my guards." Silence greeted his plea. Frustrated, Marius cursed under his breath. "The Sephiroth Grawl has already been sent in a carriage. You know the coordinates. We'll continue this discussion there." He hurled the gem against the wall, watching it shatter, and barely suppressed the urge to toss every book off the shelves in rage. The castle of Teeps was lost. That much was clear. Their defenses were too weak to withstand another coup, no matter how much time they had to prepare. None of it mattered as long as he escaped with Valerie. With the Holy Grail in his possession, the castle's loss was a minor inconvenience. A sudden tremor shook the room, accompanied by distant howls echoing through the corridors. Marius froze, his blood running cold as he recognized the scent wafting through the air. "Werewolves," he whispered, his voice trembling. Not true werewolves anymore, but abominations nonetheless. The memory of encountering one in his youth resurfaced unbidden. It had been near one of the infamous laboratories funded by the House of Teeps. Even now, the thought made his stomach churn. Shaking himself free of the memory, Marius resumed his work. He glanced at the guard, whose confused expression didn't escape him. "Stop gawking and do your job," he barked. Time was running out. Chiron relayed her findings to Mordred, who immediately took action. "Head back to the hotel," Mordred ordered. "You're not fast enough to catch up with the girl." If the vampire's information was correct, Valerie was already at least 100 meters away. Chiron nodded, acknowledging her limits, and stepped aside. Mordred leapt onto a nearby rooftop, moving swiftly from building to building in pursuit of the damper. "Found you," Mordred murmured, her eyes locking onto her target. Valerie Teeps sat on the ground, her hand clutching her chest, her face pale with shock. Standing before her was a grotesque creature, its monstrous form unlike anything Mordred had ever seen. Even she felt a flicker of unease. This wasn't the kind of werewolf described in legends. It was something far worse, an abomination born of twisted experiments. "Is that a werewolf?" Mordred muttered, gripping her sword tightly as she prepared to confront the beast.
Hey everyone, Quantum Audiobook here. Sorry for interrupting, but if you're enjoying this content, please consider subscribing to the channel. Also, feel free to share your thoughts on this novel in the comments, and don't forget to like the video.
Valerie was in shock. The world's common sense seemed to have disappeared, or what she considered common sense. She was trying to look away from the abomination in front of her. This thing had suddenly appeared from the sky. She didn't understand anything that was happening. "Get up!" The guard accompanying her screamed as he lifted her off the ground. "Lord Marius has already left. We have to go now." Where dash? She tried to talk. "Shut up," he ordered, without even looking at her. "We're just wasting our time." He was silenced before he could speak. An object, what appeared to be a sword, was thrown at him and pierced his stomach, killing him instantly. The dead body fell on top of Valerie, crushing her beneath it. Valerie hit her head on the ground, which was not exactly soft. For a few seconds, she looked at the moon and tried to reach it. Then, black waves began to assault her. The adrenaline that once burned like a fire had faded away to an icy numbness. Her eyesight was blurred, but not because the tears were welling up. Everything became fuzzy. The only thing she could hear was her weak heartbeat. Her breath came in ragged, shallow gasps. The only thing that is making her active is the blood oozing from the guard in her forehead, her vampiric side slowly demanding for the last dinner. "This is it." She managed to pronounce something. The despair and suffering of what she passed from the beginning to end were finally over. "Is this how I escape from this world?" Valerie wasn't naive to the darkness of the real world. No more sleeping in horrible dungeons. No more racist comments. No more experiments made by her brother. No more dead people talking to her. And all because she's a damper born with a Longinus. She would be able to leave all the pain behind. She closes her eyes and waited. Seconds passed as she lay there. Then, she heard someone weakly calling her name out. She doesn't know who it was. The voice was androgynous, which brought back memories of her childhood friend, but still unknown to her. Interesting enough, the voice has a superb Romanian accent, greater than hers. In her defense, she had never touched a book since childhood, only learning a few words when people opened their mouths. "Hey," someone flicked her forehead, her voice clearer now, the horrendous smell of garlic invading her nostrils. "You're still alive, yeah?" The blonde girl struggled to flutter her eyes out. When she did, she came face to face with someone she hadn't seen before. It was a foreigner woman, and a stunning one. She was looking at her with a smirk on her face. "Glad you're still living." She openly laughed and slapped her knee, ignoring the fact that there's an impaled corpse behind her and another one in a crater. Valerie felt her red blood orbs heavier than before. "Tired out?" Mordred said with a hum. "It's fine. Get some rest, little girl." Mordred continued to speak even when Valerie had lost consciousness. "Because from now on you're going to have a new life." Mordred took Valerie carefully. She turned to see a large group of vampires and werewolves making their way to them. "I'd like to play with you guys for a while, but I have other things to do. Bye." With Valerie carried on his shoulder like a sack of potatoes, Mordred ran out of the place. She was so fast that she left the chasing party behind without any trouble. Mordred arrived at the hotel where Chiron was waiting. This, of course, after making more than 15 different turns and only heading to the site after confirming that no one was in the area. She knocked on the door of the room they had rented, but no one answered. "It's me, Chiron," Mordred said. "Password," a childish voice answered. "The knight and the dragon are working together for the Cat Princess." Password correct. The childish voice, which belonged to Chiron, answered and opened the door. She was dressed in nice white pajamas with black dots that matched her hair. She held back from yawning, looking as if she had just woken up. Your teacher was risking her life to rescue the damper of the Holy Grail, and you're here sleeping. Aren't you ashamed? But those guys were so weak the teacher could take care of them all with one hand. Huh. Mordred wanted to upset Chiron a little, but the innocent girl's response momentarily surprised her. With that short answer, Chiron was revealing all the confidence she had in Mordred. Having someone who trusts you. This was a new feeling for Mordred, one she had never experienced before. Throughout her life, she had always sought to be praised by her father. To that end, she always threw herself into the thick of things, the vital position on the battlefield, to make way for Arthur's troops and thus achieve victory. And she always achieved that victory. She always managed to get that detail that made her father achieve the final victory. To achieve that, she didn't care about the casualties on the battlefield. In fact, the name of her squad was unofficially called the Suicide Squad. This was because 90% of the soldiers assigned to Mordred's squad fell in combat by following their leader's suicide strategies, and the other 10% were those fleeing the battlefield. Back then, no one trusted her. But now, here was someone who trusted her and her strength. Chiron trusted Mordred so much that she had gone to sleep with a clear conscience, knowing that nothing bad would happen to her teacher. Mordred smiled, a sincere, innocent smile. If she could look in the mirror herself, she would be surprised to see that smile on his face. That smile soon disappeared and was replaced by her usual mischievous, playful smile. She stroked Chiron's white hair with her free hand and laughed lightly. Don't sleep anymore, little cat. Let's give the damper a little bath and get out of this damn vampire country. Chiron blushed when she heard Mordred talking about the bathroom. Shall we go for a bath? Together? Mordred raised an eyebrow. Of course. Didn't you say you wanted your tits to grow as big as Kuroka and Tiamat's? Well, I have gathered some information and come up with a suitable method. Also, I have accepted my side as a woman thanks to Tiamat and Draco, and I have realized that I lack in those areas as well. So it's decided you and I, teacher and pupil, are going to help each other grow our tits. Chiron's blush deepened until it reached her ears. Baka! 6 months have passed since the incident with Aquino and Shuri. Nothing special has happened, except that I've raised the levels of a few skills. Of the special skills, I've only been able to raise one level of Senjutsu while the rest of the skills remain the same. It seems that most of the skills that belong to this set can only be raised as you evolve. Of the resistance skills, I have not been able to raise any skills. I could have forced myself to do so, but I honestly didn't see the need. I know this may sound stupid, but I'm not a masochist. I realize that the skill is gone, probably because I can't roll with my real body anymore. It is a skill that I have practically never used, so it is not significant to lose this skill. As for the rest of normal skills, arrow creation has been raised to level 9. This is something I was quite happy about when I raised it, as it is one of the skills that I use the most. Tuki has also been upgraded to level 4. Another skill I use a lot, and I'm going to continue to use it in the future. At level 3, my stats were up by 30%, but now at level 4, my stats are up by 40%. Logical, isn't it? Another normal skills that I've upgraded is stealth. I don't know how far I can hide my presence, but I'm sure I'm not even close to Tiamat level. At least Azazel is still detecting my presence no matter how hard I try to hide it from him. I guess I'll have to keep training in the future. The rest of normal skills are the same. I haven't been able to level them up at all. Oh, I forgot. I got a new normal skill, and I've upgraded it quite a bit. This skill is Close Combat, which I've raised to level 4. This skill I got after training these 6 months with Barrakiel. I don't know what the difference is between Close Combat and In-Fighter, but it's not something I have to think about too much. It's not even worth asking Sage about this. Speaking of In-Fighter, this is the only title skill that has been upgraded. In fact, it's the second highest leveled skill, having gone up 2 levels. After this review of the improvements in my status, let's talk about what has surprised me the most in the last 6 months. In fact, it was a fact that happened recently, just a few weeks ago. I am talking precisely about the event involving Mordred and Chiron in Romania. The rescue of the bearer of one of the original 13 Longinus, Valerie Teeps, and the Sephiroth Grawl. I took advantage of the rumors that Azazel had heard about the vampires of the Teeps faction, that they had a member who possessed the Longinus Sephiroth Grawl. Knowing that Mordred was going to be interested in the Holy Grail, I told him that information and asked him to investigate it. Mordred did not disappoint me at all, and brought me several pleasant surprises. The first one was the 2,000 experience points obtained by the vampires she had eliminated in Romania. It's good to know that I also get experience from the living beings she kills, although it's a shame that the effect of walking egg doesn't work with the experience points I get from Mordred. I would have gotten 2,000 more experience points if that were the case. But that wasn't the only thing that surprised me, and it definitely wasn't the best surprise. If I can get experience points from Mordred's actions, why wouldn't I be able to get fate points? Exactly. That's what I got. A lot of fate points. Your servant has successfully changed a person's fate. 1 fate point obtained. Your servant has successfully changed a person's fate. 1 fate point obtained. Your servant has successfully changed a person's fate. 1 fate point obtained. Your servant has successfully changed a person's fate. 1 fate point obtained. Your servant has successfully changed a person's fate. 1 fate point obtained. Your servant has successfully changed a person's fate. 1 fate point obtained. Your servant has successfully changed a person's fate. 1 fate point obtained. Exactly. Rescuing Valerie from the Teeps family has given me nothing more and nothing less than 7 fate points. Now I have 10 fate points. The question is, what do I spend my fate points on? The first possibility is to summon more servants, but that is not something I see as necessary at this time. Right now, I'm in a neutral, conflict-free time. Invoking Mordred was unnecessary at the time, but now it has turned out to be a beneficial investment. But right now, I have no need for more investments like Mordred's. I would rather spend the fate points on turning people I trust into servants than on summoning a random one that could eventually become my undoing. The first person that comes to mind is Kuroka. If there is anyone I trust who I would like to support me as a servant, it is her, without a doubt. But it's not yet time to make her a servant. The time to make the first journey between worlds is coming, and I know which world I will go to. This is none other than Fate/Zero. I suppose you're wondering how I'm going to leave this world for the Type Moon world. I'll tell you even if you don't mind. As it turns out, I need to spend 1 fate point per person for every trip I make from one world to another. In other words, to go to Type Moon and back, I'll need to spend 2 fate points. It should cost me 4 fate points to take Mordred with me to the Type Moon world, but since she's part of my system, she counts technically as part of my own being. I know it sounds strange and disturbing from a certain point, but it's reality. The reason I don't want to make Kuroka my servant right now is that there's a chance we'll lose the war, and she can die there. We're talking about our enemies being the likes of King of Heroes Gilgamesh, King of Conquerors Iskandar, and King of Knights Arthur Pendragon. There is no problem if Mordred or I die there, because we don't have any family left. But Kuroka still has Chiron, and Chiron depends a lot on Kuroka. I've indeed become strong, but I'm nowhere near fighting those monsters. Neither would Mordred, but because of my superiority as master, then the odds are even. I will consider making her a servant once the war is over. That's all. I've also thought about getting some noble phantasm. In fact, I think I'll try to get 1 or 2. That would leave me with no less than 6 fate points left. I'd like to try the so-called fate skills and try my luck. I don't know what exactly they do, but I find it interesting. That's what I'm going to spend a fate point on. Although depending on what I get, I'll choose to spend a few more fate points. The remaining 4 or 5 fate points I'm going to save for when I'm in Type Moon. There are interesting people and powerful servants there that I would like to follow me into the world of DxD. Right now, I am in the underworld, more specifically in the territory of the fallen angels, in a house that can practically be called a hotel. It reminds me of the Hayudu residence in the light novels. It's a big 6-story house with 3 big basements. First floor includes guest rooms, the living room, a kitchen, a bathroom, and Japanese-styled rooms, washitsu. Second floor includes my room, which I share with Kuroka and Rainier and Akino's rooms. For some reason, there are doors in my room that connect to the other 2 rooms. And for some other reason, my bed is similar to a king's bed, It can hold up to 16 people inside. 16 people, do you know what that is? It's fucking bullshit. Third floor includes Shuri's and Barrakiel's room, a study, and a storeroom. Fourth floor includes some rooms that haven't been occupied, although they'll probably be occupied by Mordred, Chiron, and Valerie when they come. Fifth floor, more unoccupied rooms. Sixth floor, it's an empty room, nothing inside yet. Rooftop. The rooftop is a communal garden decorated with flower plots, and there is a small vegetable farm planted. There is also a table and chairs to drink tea. First basement floor includes a movie theater, training rooms, changing rooms, and a large indoor bath which has a refrigerator filled with 3 different flavors of milk: fruit milk, regular milk, and coffee milk. A hidden room on this floor also becomes a room. The second hidden room also contains an assortment of baths of various sizes, but are noticeably larger than the first and are decorated gorgeously with ornate patterns, tropical plants, and dragon statues pouring water into the bath. Second basement floor includes a heated indoor swimming pool. Third basement floor, a mostly vacant floor that is generally used for storage. It also includes a library. All floors in the house are accessible via an elevator, something that I appreciate very much. There appear to be hidden rooms in residence due to the designer of the house having a fondness for hidden rooms. With my skill, Art of Human Transformation, at level 7, I spend 1 MP point every 5 minutes transformed. This means that to spend 100% of my MP, I need to be in my human form for more than 25 hours straight without a break. This is basically impossible since apart from recovering MP naturally without doing anything, I recover MP at a considerably high amount when I meditate through Senjutsu and when I sleep. In short, I can now afford to maintain human form consistently. Although, as I say, I find it a little uncomfortable to maintain human form for so long. I feel as if my most basic instincts are asking me to keep my true form. That's why I often choose to take my true form, which is that of a Western dragon over 20 feet tall, and sleep outdoors. Kuroka gets upset when I do this. She says she can't sleep without hugging me, so I only do it once or twice a week. The face I'm looking at seems to be that of a teenager, no older than about 16 to 17 years old. His hair is platinum, although his bangs vary between different shades of black and white. The face would be that of a normal boy who likes to dye his hair, but 4 characteristics make this boy stand out. The first is the pair of eyes, each one a different color. The right eye has a white pupil, while the rest is a dark black color. In contrast, the left eye has the same dark black pupil, and the rest of it is a white color. The pupil was like that of a snake. This was the same in both eyes. The second one is the teeth. Although most of these are the same or very similar to those of any human, there are a couple of them that are very different. These are the fangs which practically stick out. They are not as exaggerated as a vampire's, but they are quite intimidating. The third is the ears. These were quite curious, as they appear to be elf ears. These ears are not as long as those of the elves, but they are still pointed and a little longer than normal. The fourth and last one was the pair of horns that protruded from its forehead. 2 horns, one on the left and one on the right. They were not very large and barely protruded more than 2 inches. Still, it was impossible not to notice those horns. The body of the boy to whom that face belonged was a little over 9 feet high. This person is none other than myself. Yes, this boy is me. This is my human form after evolving into a Nephilim dragon 6 months ago. I'm looking in the mirror right now. Yeah, I'm looking in the mirror. I've been admiring myself for more than 5 minutes now. I feel like Cristiano Ronaldo. I can't stop looking at myself in the mirror. No one can blame me here. Who would have told me a year and a half ago that I would stop being an ordinary human and become a handsome dragon? No one. Oh, looks like someone's coming. My use of Senjutsu is already at an advanced level, so I can feel when a presence approaches my room. If I'm not mistaken, she should be Tiosi. Go ahead, Rainier. The door opens, and a young beauty enters the room. She is none other than Rainier, one of the girls living in this extravagant mansion. Good morning, Draco. I had already finished dressing before Rainier entered the room, which is the possible cause of the disappointment that is clearly visible on her face. The pile of newsprint in her hands is not out of my sight. Do you need anything? Ah, yes. Governor General Azazel says he wants to see you. He could have come here. It's not like he doesn't know where I live. Ito, Azazel-sama is very busy lately, especially since the disaster that has occurred in the human world. Rainier's words caught my attention. Actually, I've been out of touch with what's going on in the human world for a long time. In fact, I don't think I've looked for any information about the current situation in the human world since I was reincarnated. Well, it's not like the information is critical to me anyway. What disaster? A ship carrying a group of students from a Japanese high school mysteriously sank 2 months ago. There was quite a stir in the news, but since you only train and stroke Kuroka's ears, I'm sure you haven't heard about it. It seems Rainier is envious of a certain Nekashu. No, this can't be. I have to keep everyone happy if I want the boat to stay on. Draco! Rainier screams in surprise when I take her in my arms, true to the carrying the princess style. She tries to let go of me, but there's no way she can do it with the great difference in our strength. I drop her on my bed, and she tries to get off right away. Of course, I don't let her get away with it, and I hold her tightly with both hands. Once this is done, I put both of Rainier's wrists together and place them over her head. That way, I'm preventing her from moving her upper body. To prevent Rainier from moving the lower throne, I place my knee in a position where I am practically touching her pussy. With my free hand, I slowly caress Rainier's cheek. Rainier's face is beautiful. She is very pretty. In fact, Rainier would not lose even to Kuroka or Akino in terms of beauty. It seems a certain raven is jealous of a kitten. Perhaps the raven needs the dragon's attention. Rainier's cheeks blush, resulting in an even more beautiful face than usual. This kind of reaction in women is the best God could give to men. My eyes are fixed on hers, which are electric purple. She is the one who loses in the duel of looks, looking away from my eyes while nodding shamefully. I let out a victory smile. Looks like you've been training hard this morning. Another practice session with Barrakiel and Akino. Rainier nods again. Okay, I'm going to give you a little massage to help you cope with the burdens of training. Okay? Once again, Rainier nods. Rainier accepted my massage offer without hesitation. One that she accepted, I placed her face down on the bed and proceeded to undress her. She was wearing Grigori's uniform, the one women wear. It's a blue uniform, similar to the one they wear in manga and anime. It makes sense since this is a world of light novels and also adapted to anime and manga. The film's women's uniform consists of the dark blue jacket, common to both boys and girls, skirt of the same color, white socks, and dark slippers. What I'm going to do is a leg massage, which is what Rainier needs most. The most essential thing in Barrakiel's training is endurance. According to him, you can lose a fight, but you can survive if you have the stamina to escape. If you don't have the stamina to escape, you're dead. To do that, all I have to do is remove the clothes that cover Rainier's legs. In this case, the shoes, socks, and the skirt. First, shoes and socks. I don't think about it much, and I remove both clothes easily thanks to Rainier's non-interference. What's left of this is a pair of white, delicate, soft feet. Now, all that's left is to lift the skirt. The only thing covering Rainier's pussy and ass is nothing but black panties. Pretty seductive if you ask me. For now, this is enough. The legs, that area of the body we use to get up, to bend down, to walk, to run, etc. They participate in almost all our activities, and although they are extremely resistant, they also get tired. Even we dragons get tired. What to say about the legs of a fallen angel? Even if Rainier has improved a lot these last 6 months, and when I want to say a lot, I say I'm very surprised by the big improvement in her stats. Status inspection. Rainier, race, fallen angel, 4 wings. Status, normal. LV, 10 of 40. HP, 120 of 120. MP, 100 out of 100. Strength, 90. Defense, 60. Magic, 110. Agility, 70. Skills, light base weapons. Magic, memory alteration. Flight, holy flame, sealed. Rainier has virtually doubled many of her statistics in a short 6-month period. All this, thanks to Barrakiel Sensei's hellish training. In fact, I dare say she'd be even stronger if she weren't so lazy and tried to skip a lot of the training. Still, even with this great improvement, I am 3 times stronger than she is. Let's go back to the leg massage. The legs are kind of like a reservoir of blood. Because most of the time the legs are below the level of our heart, it becomes more difficult for blood to return from the legs to the heart. And this is why we start to feel tired, and is also the reason why the feet swell when we walk long distances. To reverse this fact, the massage I will be performing will require me to do my upward maneuvers. This way, the blood will circulate, and I will undo the feeling of load on Rainer's legs. Even though the leg muscles are very large and full of muscle fibers, there is no need for a very intense massage to the point of generating pain. This is because a painful stimulus is an increase in tension, and that is not my goal. What I have to do in this case is to increase the intensity of the massage progressively. I open a drawer on the bedside table and take out a special cream. This is not the first time I have used this cream, as there is a certain Nekashu who is addicted to me giving her a weekly and even daily massage. This is a special cream that Grigori has developed. In fact, its creator is none other than Azazel himself. Who knows what the leader of the fallen angels was thinking of when he thought of creating a massage cream? What exactly does the cream do? Nothing special. Exactly, it doesn't do anything that any other cream doesn't do. Apparently, this is a special cream created from rare materials from Asgard and other mythological lands. Some remarkable materials, or so Azazel has called them, including ambrosia from the Greek pantheon, Amrita from the Indian pantheon, Ida from the Nordic pantheon. I was going to refuse, but a certain Nekashu was not up to the task. And of course, Azazel wasn't going to give away something created by such precious materials. Third-person POV. A few weeks earlier, Draco was sitting on the roof, practicing Senjutsu as usual. Like every time he practiced Senjutsu, he cut off his connection to all his senses, leaving only the energies of nature and himself. Practicing Senjutsu was always a pleasure for Draco, especially since he evolved into Nephilim Dragon. Now that he was a perfect blend of light and dark, he no longer had to worry about evil energies. Before, when Draco was an evil child dragon, he had the same problem as any other race, except the Yukais when trying to practice Senjutsu. What causes madness when practicing Senjutsu is the union of natural energy and evil energy, so the two energies cannot coexist within the same organism. But Draco didn't have that problem anymore. That's because a Nephilim dragon is now a being that shouldn't exist, bringing together two opposing attributes, holy attribute and dark attribute. The natural energies and the evil energies coexist within Draco just as the holy and dark attributes do. Normally no one would go up to the roof while Draco is training, as even though he would not mind at all, no one wants to interfere with the dragon's training. After so many months with Draco, the obsession he has with training is more than known. It seems that the boy was preparing for a future war, something unthinkable in these times of relative peace. But today was different. Today someone had shown up on the roof. Naturally, Draco felt that presence at the moment he or she stepped in the roof. In other words, Draco felt the energies that were emanating from that presence. Still, Draco did not move from the spot and continued his training. He had already made it clear that he would not stop training unless it was an emergency, and this time was not one of them. The presence did not seem to bother him at all, and he just waited patiently for Draco to finish his training. After a few hours, Draco exhaled and spoke as he opened his eyes. And to think that so much evil could exist within such pure holy energy, Azazel, a member of the strongest race, a dragon, formed by the mixture of two opposing attributes, which should never be able to go together, is not the one that should be surprised Draco. Draco opened his eyes and looked at the man in front of him calmly. "What do you want?" he asked calmly. Azazel grimaced. "Draco-chan, you don't have to be so cold to me. I just wanted to stop by and say hello to a good friend of mine. Can't I do that minimum?" Draco raised an eyebrow. He did not believe anything that came out of Azazel's mouth. Tiamat had advised him before reaching Grigori never to believe Azazel's words 100%. At first, Draco did not understand why she had told him that, but he was beginning to believe more and more in Tiamat's words. Azazel was a good leader. No one could deny that. He is also obsessed with sacred gears. No one can deny that. He is also a recognized pacifist, as a war would be fatal to the fallen angels. No one can deny that. But that doesn't take away from the fact that Azazel is evil by nature. He was an angel before he fell, a high-ranking one. In fact, Grigori's leaders were the ones who ruled in the fifth heaven before they were expelled from the heavenly realms by Yahweh. That is, they were only inferior in authority to the seraphim and Archangel Michael. However, their powers were not at all inferior to these. Why did the seraphim have more authority than the Azazel and the other residents of the fifth heaven? Because God knew the evil nature that resided within them. Perhaps God saw the same thing that Draco had seen, the immense amount of evil that resided within Azazel. Being a first-generation angel, and one of the most powerful, the heavenly/holy/sacred power that Azazel contained in his body rivaled the most powerful seraphim, Michael. But along with that sacred power, there was an enormous evil and malice, which could only be detected if you were extremely sensitive to this sort of thing, just as Draco is when he becomes one with nature. Azazel was an evil creature, extremely evil. But that didn't mean that his actions were evil. It's a strange concept, and it's hard to explain. I don't think a busy person like you, Grigori's Governor General, has time to go visit someone like me just to say hello. Am I wrong? Was Azazel here to say hello? He would never do that. He's a busy man. If he wasn't busy with his duties as governor, he'd lock himself in the studio at Sacred Gears. And when he wasn't there, Valerie would look for him to train. Valerie hadn't changed a bit in the last 6 months, and she was still looking for strength in an almost desperate way. Draco would like to say something to Valerie, but he found it difficult. Mainly because he was the same as her, a dragon. Valerie could be considered half a dragon thanks to the divine dividing. Those looking for strength, and much more strength. No, you're not wrong. In fact, I came here to thank you. Draco raised the other eyebrow. He obviously did not expect this from Azazel. You saved the life of the wife of one of my best friends, not to mention brother, his daughter, and the daughter of another of my best friends, even though he is already dead. That's why you have my personal thanks. Draco frowned. Just that? Azazel shrugged. It's not like I'm committing any atrocities by coming to thank you, you know? Draco never looked away from Azazel, searching for the true intentions of the leader of the fallen angels. It's been several months since that event, so why now? I was busy. Azazel was very relaxed. It seemed that he had really come to thank Draco for what happened at Barakiel's residence in Japan. He was aware of what happened at that event. Obviously, he was going to know about it, and had acted on it. Azazel was the one who had the house/hotel built where Draco and the others currently resided. Barakiel could no longer maintain his stance of staying in the human world because of the possible existence of traitors in Grigori, a stance that Azazel considered stupid from the first moment. Well, it's not like Barakiel was the smartest of the Grigori leaders. Why don't we go down? Kuroka can make us some tea or something. Draco stood up and gestured to Azazel. The Nekashu is fine. Azazel nodded and followed Draco into the building. They took the elevator that connected the many floors of the house and went down to the first floor. Draconia. The first thing they saw as they left the elevator was the embarrassing position in which Kuroka was sleeping. She was lying on the couch, one leg up and the other stretched out horizontally. Her hair was disheveled and threatened to get in her mouth, which was open with a little drool coming out of it. Her pajamas were unkempt, leaving the flat belly of the cat girl visible. Give me a moment, Azazel. You can go sit at the table. Draco was calm. Scenes like these were part of his daily life. She had always been lazy, and it did not seem that that would change in the short term. Draco's expressionless, indifferent eyes grew soft as she looked at the young Nekashu. She had such a peaceful face, so graceful and so beautiful. Draco didn't want that face to change. He didn't want to endanger her at any time. That's why he didn't want to make her his servant and have her participate with him in the Holy Grail War. The Holy Grail War is a war that only those who have a reason to fight it have to fight. The rest should stay out of it. Mordred was clear about what she wanted. and so was Draco. Mordred wanted to repeat the same test that crowned her father, and Draco wanted the experience of killing the masters and servants. Draco's soft eyes didn't change, but his smile turned evil. "Wake up, you useless cat." He grabbed one of Kuroka's legs and muttered a few words. This caused Kuroka's sleep to be disturbed, and she slowly opened one eye, completely confused as to what was happening. "Nya." Draco did not give the cat time to wake up on her own and pulled the leg he had taken before. "Nya." Kuroka fell suddenly to the ground. That is how Draco forced Kuroka to wake from her deep sleep. "What are you doing, yeah?" Kuroka shouted at Draco as she rose from the floor. She put one hand behind her back to ease the pain of the blow. "We have guests." The softness disappeared from Draco's eyes the moment Kuroka awoke. He indicated the presence of Azazel by pointing his head in his direction. "Azazel-sama." Kuroka bowed to him the moment he realized who he was. She felt that Azazel had done much for them, giving them this perfect home. Kuroka loved everything about the house, especially the fact that Azazel gave her a room to share with Draco and the pool. Kuroka was in love with the climatic pool. "Hi, Kuroka. What are you doing here, Azazel-sama?" "I just came to thank you for your help with Barricule. I heard that thanks to your barrier, they all survived until Draco's arrival. You have my sincere thanks." "Don't thank us. We would have helped Shuri, little Aquino, and Rainier even if they were not related to Grigori. Shuri is like a mother to me, and Rainier and Aquino are my good friends. I couldn't watch while they were in danger." "I see." Azazel nodded. Draco took a seat in front of him. "Tea? Or do you prefer coffee?" Draco asked Azazel. "Black tea is fine." Draco looked at Kuroka, and she nodded. Kuroka did not take long to prepare the tea, but Azazel realized something at that moment. She was holding her hand behind her back regularly. It seemed that Kuroka had a bad back. "That fall seems to have hurt you quite a bit, Kuroka," Azazel told her when she came back with the tea. "No, it's not that. The pains in the back have been going on for a while. I think they are sequels of that fight. But it's no big deal. They can hardly be considered a nuisance," Kuroka said slightly as she shrugged and sat in the chair next to Draco. Azazel frowned and went into a thoughtful mode. "I think I recently invented a special cream made from mythological materials such as Asclepius panacea, Nordic erythrum, and a few others. It has a special effect on the skin, making the wrinkles disappear, and the person who takes it stays very young even after centuries. But its main objective is to cure muscular discomfort, regardless of the degree of pain." Kuroka's eyes shone with every word that came out of Azazel's mouth. To say that she was tempted was an understatement. Draco, on the other hand, was frowning. This cream seemed to be very precious, and he was sure Azazel would not give it away for free. But one look at Kuroka's face made him sigh. "Could you give us some of that cream?" Draco asked weakly. "I'm sorry, but I have very little of this cream. The materials are scarce and hard to come by. I remember when I had to suffer a whole night in Aphrodite's chambers to get some ice, sir." Azazel's face said that he had suffered much to obtain these materials. "I owe you a favor, whatever you want. In return, I want all the cream you have available and all that you will make in the future." Azazel smiled and didn't hesitate to say, "It's a deal." Returning to the present, Draco's POV. "And that's how I got the cream. And now I owe Azazel a favor. He said he'd be back when he needed my help, and it's been another few months since that day. Now that Rainier has said that Azazel is calling me, I'm sure it has something to do with that favor I owe him. If we add this to the news of the shipwreck and the disappearance of the students' bodies, it looks like I'm going to have my hands full with this complicated business for a while. But first I have to finish Rainier's massage. Someone will say that it's useless to use this cream on a person like Rainier. Sigh. If you knew what this cream was really worth. Honestly, I feel deceived. Well, the massage is not very complicated. You start with the feet and work your way up to the end of the leg or the coccyx. It's said fast, but the massage takes over 30 minutes. The massage continues without any complications, leaving aside Rainier's continuous moans of pleasure. Seriously, it's not like we're the only ones living in this house. At least, Shuri is accompanying Aquino while she is training with Barricule, and Kuroka will be sleeping as usual. Get dressed. Let's go see Azazel, I told Rainier once I finished the massage. Yes, She got out of bed, her face still flushed from the intensity of the massage, and put on the bottom of Nephilim's uniform. A shipwreck with more than 200 people missing. I don't understand how Azazel could come to think that this was an accident that had nothing to do with the supernatural. I mean, it's obvious that this was related to the supernatural world. We both took the elevator down to the first floor, prepared to leave the site, and head for Azazel's offices. But there's one obstacle that stands in our way when we get out of the elevator. Yes, it's the person we expected to be sleeping on the couch. Looks like you guys had a lot of fun up there, Naya. Kuroka was standing there looking at Rainier and me, who had just got out of the elevator. She's got her eyes narrowed, and her face is solemn. Draco has been kind to me, and I've enjoyed it very much. Even though I have trouble moving my legs now, the feeling is totally different than before the session. Sigh. Draco's hands are wonderful, a unique sensation. I don't know why, but the words Rainier used are going to cause me trouble. I'm lying. I'm sure Rainier's words are going to cause me problems. Just look at Kuroka's eyebrow, which is trembling, in any part of her face. She's pissed. Draco and yeah, after all the time we've spent together you decide to fuck Rainier before me? You're wrong. We weren't fucking. I have to defend myself before this gets out of hand. But it seems that Kuroka didn't buy that, and she seems like on the verge of crying. I told you we haven't fucked. Rainier, you tell her? I'm gesturing Rainier to explain herself better. It's true. As much as I would have liked to, I know Draco can't have sex with someone as inferior as me. Now Rainier's making a sad face. But unlike Kuroka, I doubt this sadness is real. We're talking about the fallen angel with 1,000 faces. You never know if what she's showing on the outside is her true thoughts. I hit her head with my fist. I have to shut her up before she keeps talking nonsense. Shut that mouth, you idiot. Ouch! She bends over while holding her head. The fist went with a bit of force. It wasn't a simple joke. Kuroka, I was giving her a leg massage. You know how Barakiel's workouts are. Rainier's legs were too tight, so I unloaded them a bit. Kuroka visibly relaxes when I explain the situation. Draco is right. That cream works wonders. And Rainier opens her mouth again. Cream? It's not the cream Azazel gave me. She's not talking about that god-level cream. Are you, Draco? You're wrong. That's my cream. I'm the one who owes Azazel a favor, not you. With my index finger, I tap Kuroka's forehead. Cut the crap. Because of your god-level cream, I have to go see Azazel. I'm sure he has some complicated problem and wants me to help him solve it. Kuroka pouted. It's okay. I forgive you for now. But tonight you're going to have to pamper me a lot to get over the anger. Sigh. What a pain in the ass. Come on, Rainier. With Kuroka's permission, Rainier and I left the house and went to Grigori's headquarters. So the accident is related to this Utsasimi agency, and you say they have the students missing in the incident. Rainier and I are in Azazel's office. The subject in question is sitting in his gamer chair, right in front of us. Yes, the agency is comprised of exiled members of the 5 major clans of Japan. I frowned unconsciously. This is a problem of those self-centered clans. Why does Grigori have to stick his nose into this? Azazel sighs. He puts aside his playful attitude and gets serious for the first time since I've known him. He rests his elbows on the table and leans forward. I don't give a shit what happens to these assholes, but there's a lot more at stake than that. I'm sure there's at least one organization behind them, and I think they're supported by another group. Besides, they're behind something very dangerous, and they may get something they don't expect, but which is much more dangerous if we don't act quickly. And that is, I ask you, totally curious what can make a person like Azazel get serious. They're behind 4 of the top sacred gears, who don't quite make it to the level of a Longinus. And the other element I'm talking about is none other than one of the 13 Longinus. Utsasimi agency, for sacred gears of the highest level and a Longinus. Looks like Azazel's favor is going to be well paid. And what is this organization that supports the exiles? What is their level of power? What exactly do I have to do? That's my question. I have to have as much information as possible to be able to complete this mission successfully, without failure and without casualties. I don't think I'm the best person to tell you about that group. It says Azazel. He then takes his phone and dials a number. "We are waiting for you." "I'm coming." A female voice, very sweet, responds to Azazel. Not long after, she arrived. Opening the door, a strange-looking blonde girl enters Azazel's office. Also, the reason she looked strange was that she was dressed in a cape and a pointy hat. Although she looked strange, she was dressed like a witch's cosplay. I found myself surprisingly fascinated by her elegant appearance and her beautiful figure. She was young, not older than Kuroka. Another reason I am surprised is that I recognize her. I recognize her and the cold aura she unconsciously exudes. She is one of the porters of one of the 13 Longinus. More specifically, she is the bearer of absolute demise. Demise Girl and Ice Princess are the nicknames for which she is known. Her power in the future is immense, being able to face numerous Grim Reapers of the highest level without any problem. She also awakens her balance breaker at some point in the future, and this one has the name of Absolute Demise, Assoluto Argento Mondo. Anyway, she is a fascinating girl. Both her potential and her looks, as expected from DxD, are at the top. She is Lavinia and one of your allies. She has been sent here by Grauzauberer because some stray magicians have joined the Utsasimi agency. Also, there is another group of magicians who are supporting them from the shadows. Wizards of Oz. The first time Lavinia speaks is to interrupt Azazel. She lets out the name of the organization, which draws my attention with obvious complex emotions. That's right, a group called Wizards of Oz is supporting the agency. We don't know what their objective really is, but you can't let your guard down with them. Wizards of Oz, what an interesting name. I guess they base their name on the famous children's story. And the other group? The one you're not sure about. Azazel looks down momentarily because of my question. Abyss team? I think Satinel has his hands in all this. I see. That complicates things quite a bit. Azazel nodded. But you don't have to worry about that right now. You just have to go and deliver 3 eggs and then support Lavinia and these other 3 guys in dealing with the agency problem. Valina is going to be supporting you. And in case Satinel himself shows up, I will act or barricade. Sigh. Okay, but I'm curious. Why only 3 eggs? Aren't there 5 people involved? Yes, but unfortunately 2 of them have already been captured by the enemy. There is no trace of them in the whole country or in the neighboring countries. One day they were at home, and the next day they disappeared with their families. There is no doubt that they have already been captured. I see. What's the point of the agency? What do they want with these sacred gears? I think this is my last question. You know that the 5 clans of Japan have as their main force the 5 sacred beasts that were given by the Shinto gods. The 4 sacred gears the agency seeks are called the 4 fiends, which are the counterpart of the 5 sacred beasts. The agency's goal is to bring down the clans with the help of these sacred gears. I nodded. Okay, that's it. When do I start working? Whenever you want. Take this before you go. Azazel takes out a folder and hands it to me. I open it and find 3 papers. Each one has the profile of 3 students from the same school. I recognize one of the 3 names, the user of one of the 13 Longinus. The only one of the 13 who is considered a god, albeit a false one. Inagami of the Black Blade. Canis Lycan. Accused Tobio, better known as Slashdog. This mission is very interesting, very interesting. If I can make contact with Tobio, it would bring the number of Longinus holders I have known since my arrival in Grigori to 3. Besides, I have met Akino, the heiress of Grigori's most powerful attack, and Rainier, the heiress of the most powerful fire, and a person who is going to affect a lot the future developments of DxD. In a way, I think Tiamat's decision to send me here is practically the best one he could have made. On the other hand, Mordred has already made contact with the Pendragon brothers and has already rescued Valerie, the user of another Longinus. According to her, Arthur Pendragon was going to buy the nearest flight from Romania to Japan. But there has been one problem, and that is that Romania has declared a state of high alert and has closed all its borders. Probably the Teeps family, or even Rizavim, have something to do with this. If Rizavim is in charge of all this, I think Mordred might have a problem. Although he is not as strong as Surzex Lucifer in his true form or Ajuka Beelzebub with his Kankara formula, he is still a super devil with a demonic power superior to the original mouse. That's why I've ordered him to act carefully. If traveling by plane is dangerous, then she only has to create a teleportation circle. This is going to take much longer, obviously, which is why I don't expect her to arrive for another week or so. For now, let's get on with the mission. The first name of the three belongs to a girl, Natsum Minagawa. Come on, Rainier. We have work to do. Yes. I got up, and Rainier followed me. Before I left, I turned and headed for the other girl in the room. Rainier hadn't spoken at all this time, but the other girl had only said 2 words. Are you coming with us, Lavinia? Lavinia seemed to hesitate a bit, but ended up nodding her head. Rainier, Lavinia, and I left Azazel's office, not before he gave me 3 strange eggs. At first glance, these looked like simple white rounded objects, but my impression of them changed the moment I laid my hands on them. The eggs had their own heartbeat. Did these eggs contain sacred gears? Of course they didn't. The eggs were nothing more than a catalyst for sacred gears, similar to the bracelet Azazel gave to Haido Issei. While the bracelet allowed Issei to use his balance breaker for a short period, the eggs help awaken a special kind of sacred gears. Independent avatar type sacred gears. The most powerful of this type of sacred gears are none other than 3 of the Longinus, of which at least 2 are involved this time. Canis Lycan, Absolute Demise, Incinerate Anthem. Following these 3, the next independent avatar type sacred gears are the so-called 4 Fiends. These creatures are better known as 4 evil creatures of the world and come from Chinese mythology. Ironically, their souls enclosed in sacred gears manifest in the bodies of Japanese people. Taoye represents greed and gluttony. Shionchi represents deviousness. Taowu represents ignorance. Hundu represents chaos. I could go on long enough about these 4 beasts, but I honestly think it's unnecessary and irrelevant. The only important thing is that these beasts were killed in the past, and their souls were sealed in these 4 sacred gears. Our goal is to deliver the 3 eggs to the 3 people that Azazel has indicated to us, and wait for them to awaken their respective sacred gears. As long as they do not awaken their sacred gears, we have to protect them from this Utsasimi agency. I don't know why the agency is called that, and neither does Azazel. The only thing we know about them is that some exiled members of the Japanese clans, but that's all we know so far. As former members of Japanese clans, they should have knowledge in the Japanese exorcism system. Even if that's the case, they shouldn't have a higher level than those who visited Barakiel's house 6 months ago. Well, how do we do this? I asked the 2 girls. What do you mean? Rainier asks. There are 3 people we have to deliver an egg to, and there are 3 of us designated to carry out this task. I propose that we each take one of the students involved. This is an idea that just came to my mind. Why focus the 3 of us on one person when we can divide and act simultaneously? It's okay with me, dude. Huh? Did Lavinia just call me Dra-Coin? I'm stunned as I look at Lavinia, and she seems to have noticed. Her face has blushed a little, and she's avoiding my gaze. I like to give my friends nicknames. I hope you don't mind. It's okay, I don't mind at all. And you, Rainier, do you agree or not? Rainier shrugs. I think whatever decision Draco makes is the right one. Azazel has appointed you as a leader for a reason. Headset seat. Having the support of my companions makes my job much easier. Come on, we have work to do. Rukuka City, Japan. Tobio accused used to be a student at the Rukuka High School. Of course, this was all before the accident happened. Now he's a student at a different school. His parents died at a young age, and he was left in his grandmother's care. But she died recently, leaving the boy alone. The only person left in his life was his childhood friend, Sei Tuju. But that only friend died/disappeared in the well-known accident. Now, Tobio is coming home from school. How do I know that? Because I'm following him. It's not that I'm a stalker or anything, it's just that when I was going to introduce myself to Tobio, I came across something very interesting. Tobio seemed to have found something that had caused him a sudden shock, although I don't know what it could be. There was a group of people who had attracted Tobio's attention, and he had run away, chasing them like a madman. He gave chase, reaching the front of the building under construction. It was a scene for the construction of a condominium. The entrance to the construction site was strangely open, making it easy to gain entrance. Tobio, confirming that no one was looking, stepped into the site. He proceeded to enter the site, filled with steel and wood. Since the light from the electric lamps wasn't meant to reach here, and because it was starting to get dark, visibility was very poor inside. Tobio turned on the mobile phone's backlight and continued walking while on its light. It was when he was coming around the corner. Someone was standing there. That was one of the people in the group, and it seemed that Tobio knew him because Sasaki. Gingerly, Tobio called out. Despite being called, Sasaki continued defiantly walking towards the back. He began to feel worried about what was up ahead. He began to wonder if the individual was conscious or even human. Sasaki, what are you doing? Again, Tobio called out. Then the boy turned to face him. As his body turned back, the backlight that had been shining on his back now lit up his eyes. Tobio let out an inarticulate sound and shrank back. From behind him, something huge was chewing on something. The something noticed him and began coming towards him. It was a creature resembling a giant lizard. The mouth of the creature was painted with blood. The tongue emerged with a slurping sound as it stared at him curiously. The boy standing nearby was certainly Sasaki. It must be Sasaki. Tobio was convinced. At that moment, something rolled over, shining his light at it. There was the amputated head of a dog lying there. There were deep scars on the head. The skin around the eyeball on one side had been scraped away. Hi! Tobio released a small scream, wincing at the sight. The lizard begins munching on the dog. The sound of the chewing he heard earlier must have been the sound chewing on the rest of the dog. He's a weak monster. There's nothing special about him. If I had to point out something, it's that he shows me the same inscription for the human and for the lizard. My deduction is that it's the same existence, both artificially created, based on the kidnapped student, Sasaki, and an independent sacred gear. Normally, someone of this level can't bring me any trouble, and it shouldn't be a problem for Japanese clans either. But when you consider that the agency has 233 students kidnapped, that makes them a small army of supernatural beings. Which also means a lot of experience for me. I can't help but smile, as this mission can bring me many benefits. Let's go back to Tobio, since it seems the boy is in trouble. In the future, he's going to be one of the most powerful humans in the world. Valerie even says that Tobio can fight him even using the Juggernaut drive, which speaks volumes about the strength of the Canis Lycaon user. But now, he doesn't look any different than the typical anime sucker. It all needs to be said. In front of Tobio was Sasaki, totally expressionless, looking at Tobio with his neck slightly bent. The top of his white shirt had been stained with the poor dog's blood. You, what are you doing? Tobio asked Sasaki. Poor thing, he doesn't know he's talking to an artificial being. He has nothing to do with the person he knew. Hound. Sasaki lets out a sound. His tone is so low that I'm sure Tobio couldn't hear it. But I could. Hound. There's no doubt this Utsasimi is behind Tobio. So today's the day they decided to act. I must say we've been pretty lucky. I don't know if the people Lavinia and Rainier are in charge of have been attacked as well, or what the number of attackers is. But I'm sure both Rainier and Lavinia will be fine. I would have doubted if it was the old Rainier who couldn't kill a chicken. It's not that she didn't want to kill the chicken, it's just that she didn't have the strength to do it. But after Barracule's training, Rainier is capable of taking care of herself. The next moment, the boy put on an out-of-this-world smile. His thin mouth open, eyes narrowed, looking at Tobio with a creepy smile. The lizard, which had eaten the dog, stopped its meal and came closer. It is impossible to feel any emotion in those eyes, which looked like an animal that has cornered its prey. Sasaki slowly opened his mouth. Do it? I could see it clearly. The lizard opened its mouth, and its tongue shot out at Tobio, brushing his cheek. His tongue looked like a strange tentacle, with an object similar to a claw or a fong. The lizard's mouth had extended a long, ungainly tongue that twisted sinuously like a tentacle. Something like saliva dripped down the length of the tongue to the ground. Tobio noticed that his cheek had been cut off. As he stroked his cheek with his hand, which was covered in blood, it had come close to his ear. This was a creature that must have exceeded Tobio's common sense. It was about 10 feet in size. At such a length, It reminded him of the Komodo dragon, if a little more monstrous. I found you. Third-person POV. The thing with Sasaki's appearance approached, smiling mysteriously as he said it. The lizard monster in front of Sasaki responded. Tobio instinctively grabbed the steel bar placed at his feet. Holding the steel in his triple hands, he looked up at the monster. If this is a joke, stop it, Sasaki. Though he tried to smile, by forcing the ends of his mouth to rise, the muscles in his cheeks had tightened completely in fear. As Tobio held the steel bar, the lizard monster approached without intervening. Tobio responded by slowly backing away. Little by little, he retreated to gain distance. Tobio put one hand in his trouser pocket. He felt something hard with his hand. These are the extra coins that are changed in the game center. Tobio took the coins from his pocket and threw them at the lizard monster. The coins that could be easily paid for caused the tongue of the lizard monster to fall out, resulting in a hole from which he felt he could escape. He changed his stance to escape and immediately began to run, but the stretched tentacle entered his scope. Tobio reflexively prepared to defend himself with a cylindrical steel bar against the extended tentacle, but the tentacle wrapped itself around the bar. Coup! He tries to shake the tentacles wrapped around the bar, but an incredible force is applied to it. His resistance was in vain, as the steel in Tobio's hand was removed by the tentacle. At Sasaki's command, the lizard monster threw the round bar, clutching it far away. A dry, metallic sound was heard. Returning to Tobio, its original prey, the lizard monster approached step by step. Tobio shrank, enveloped in terror. He tried to escape again, but his leg was immediately caught by the tentacle, causing him to immediately stumble and fall. As he tried to get to his feet, he saw the lizard monster approaching. Seeing this scene, the person with Sasaki's appearance mocked. The tongue of the lizard monster made sinuous movements, pointing the tip of a tusk at Tobio. When nothing happened, even after waiting a few seconds, Tobio looked curiously at the monster. Then, the elongated tentacle was divided, and the lizard monster raised a wordless scream. An object stood between Tobio and Sasaki. It was an arrow. You look like you're in trouble, kid. Why don't I give you a hand? Or should I lend you two? Suddenly, Tobio heard a young man's voice from behind. The owner of the voice, followed by the sound of footsteps, appeared beside Tobio. The boy was dressed in what seemed to be a gray sweatshirt and simple sweatpants. He was tall, taller than Tobio by quite a bit, and had peculiar silver hair tied back in a bun. Tobio was sure that this guy was the one who had saved him before. It was obvious from the big bow hanging down his back. The only doubt left in Tobio's head was this. Where was the boy going to get the arrows? As Tobio looked at the boy, he stepped forward. I will be your opponent, he said to the lizard, with his hand out in front. His tone of voice was mocking, as if he didn't put the lizard in his eyes. He had his rude smile that turned his face devilish. Responding to the provocation of the mysterious boy, Sasaki gave the lizard monster an order with his hand. The lizard tried to attack him with its tongue. In an instant, the tongue had been cut into 4 different parts. Tobio could not see it clearly, but seeing that the bow was no longer in his back, but in his hand, he could deduce that it had been the boy's doing once again. Who exactly was he? An instant later, Tobio continued to see nothing. There were 3 flashes of light coming from the arch, and the lizard stopped moving. The monster's tongue fell silently to the ground. There was no cut on the monster's body, only a single hole in the center of its forehead. Tobio didn't know why, but he was sure that the 3 arrows had passed through that very spot. The monster's body lost all its strength and collapsed to the ground. As if he had lost consciousness at the same time, the person who looked like Sasaki also collapsed in place. Still shrouded in fear, Tobio was too confused to understand what had happened. The lizard monster died. An organism like that shouldn't exist. Even if it did, it would at least defy common sense. Tisk, just as I thought. Those 2 things are the same existence. And I thought I could get more points. Tobio did not listen well to the words of his savior, or thought he had not heard them well. He was too dazed to see the great bow turn into particles of light and disappear as if nothing had happened. Was that magic? Was the person who had saved him a wizard? He still had his doubts, but Tobio was delighted to have survived. He sighed softly. His relief was fleeting, however, as Sasaki, lying on the ground, was enveloped by a mysterious light phenomenon. It also enveloped the now-deceased lizard monster. It was a blue light, emanating from something circular on the ground, that was carved with unknown characters. As if it were something like a magic circle that was often seen in games and on sleeves. The magic circle-like thing emitted a more dazzling glow that made one want to cover one's eyes. After the glow stopped, he looked up at the place where the lizard monster and Sasaki no longer met. Shit, so they had a safety plan after all? After a phenomenon similar to being pinched by a fox. What had unfolded before Tobio's eyes left him so surprised that words failed him completely. The mysterious boy who had saved him was cursing in the air, but that was of no importance to him at this point. Accused Kun, right? After he calmed down, the mysterious boy turned to ask Tobio. That's me? And you are? Tobio answered with another question. He was stunned to see the boy's face. Mostly, those heterochromatic eyes and horns. Were those horns coming out of his forehead? You can call me Draco. Nice to meet you. The mystery boy, Draco, reached out to Tobio. The Canis Lycaean user hesitated a bit, but finally decided to say greet Draco back. Draco's POV. 200 experience points have been obtained. Because of the effects of title skill, Walking Egg, another 200 experience points were obtained. The level of Nephilim Dragon raised from 36 to 37. That's what I received after killing this Utsasimi. Those monsters are weak, but it seems that killing one of those is enough to make me level up. Not bad, really. And there are 233 of them, or so I think. Even if they're all the same level, the experience I'm going to get is going to be around 90,000 experience points. I think all that experience is more than enough to make me evolve once again. Now I have to deal with this brat. Slashdog is nothing like the top character that's going to become in the future. He's got a long way to go before he gets that. Boy, I'm in a good mood. Want to get some ice cream? No, thank you. Well, it seems the idea of eating ice cream is not the best I could have come up with. Well, is there someplace you'd like to go? Home? Is he mocking me? You don't seem to understand your situation, kid. You're in danger, and I'm here to help you. Now, you're going to follow me if you don't want to lose your life in the future. The emotions in Tobio's face and eyes are complex. He seems to be hesitating between believing me and not believing me, but it seems that he finally opts for the former. It's okay. I know a bar in the area. What are you waiting for? Lead the way. For me, I'll have a beer. Air. What do you want to order, Tobio? Although I called him by Akuzkoin the first time, this time I skipped it and called him directly Tobio. I don't see any sense of disgust in the boy's face, so he must be okay with it. Although, honestly, I don't give a shit what the brat thinks. No thanks, I'm fine. Tobio shakes his head. Can you follow me to the bar? You can pick up your beer mug there. I follow the waitress and come back with my beer mug. After I sit down, it's Tobio who opens the conversation. What do you want to tell me? What? To Tobio's question, I answer with a light tone. With a slightly annoying attitude, Tobio frowned and asked again. What was that all about? What's the story behind it? Oh, so the boy is curious. Well, I can say there are two kinds of people in these situations. The first one wants to pretend he's hallucinating and pretend what happened never happened. The second is how Tobio, who's curious and wants to know more about it. They say curiosity kills the cat. The truth is, this is the first time I've ever come across anything like that. But I can tell you at a glance, that was a monster and its master. And I kept talking before Tobio could ask again. That thing you seem to know is nothing more than an artificially created being called Utsasimi. I gather they're a prototype of independent avatar sacred gears, or so it seems. That human being and the monster are one and the same entity. Both are the same Utsasimi. I take a sip of beer while waiting for Tobio to absorb the knowledge I just imparted to him. Utsasimi, being an unknown term, it's natural for Tobio to be confused. Don't overthink it, it's just a name I know how to call that thing. Just like your Tobio, that thing is Utsasimi. Right now I'm like you since it's the first day I've heard that term. As far as I can tell, Tobio is speechless. Although I don't know the exact details. Thanks to a good friend who doesn't feel like doing his job well, I've deduced that they're creating untimely from the 233 missing students. I'll give the beer another shot while I go back and wait for Tobio to digest the relevant information. Even after half a minute, Tobio seems to be in a daze. Sighing lightly, I put the backpack I've been carrying all this time on the table. I know it may seem incredible, all these strange things I'm telling you. Anyway, since you're going to hear this again later, for now, I take the round white object out of the bag. The egg the size of a football. My role is to deliver this to you. I put the egg on the table, and Tobio reaches out to get it. With a pathetic scream, Tobio dropped the round object on the table. You have to be careful with it. You don't want him to die. As he put the empty beer mug on the table, I said without hesitation something sinister. Die, what do you mean? The worried Tobio protested my ominous choice of words. The untimely, it seems, were meant for the students who survived the trip by not participating. Such a ridiculous story. How could I believe that? It's selfish not to believe that story, Tobio, especially considering you were attacked. If I hadn't shown up when I did, you'd be dead right now. I think it's best to ignore the fact that I've been watching him from the beginning. The bodies are gone. It must be a mechanism that activates automatically when the untimely is defeated. That's what's known as a teleportation circle. It's like a fantasy. I think by explaining it that way, Tobio can more easily understand it. I pointed at the egg with my hand. So, that egg is important. Shouldn't it be a valuable weapon for ordinary, weak high school students like you? I laughed slightly at Tobio's confused look. Well, since we can't stay inside forever, and I can't feel anyone outside, should we leave soon? I said as I stood up. Hey, wait. I walked out the door of the bar as I left Tobio a few words. Later, I'll visit you at home. Third POV. The completely dazed Tobio slapped his cheek. He shook his head to clear his thoughts. Wait, does he know where my house is? Asking such a question, he looked at the round object Draco had brought. Egg! Would anything come of it? Earlier, the pulsation he felt with his hand had been quite vivid. With that strange thought, Tobio placed the alleged egg in his bag. Draco's POV. I left the bar, and the first thing I did was to call Lavinia. The person to whom Lavinia was to give the egg was Natsum Minagawa, a former student of the school who was involved in the accident. Lavinia, it's Draco. Are you finished with your mission? With the phone, or what seemed to be a phone, in my ear, I communicated with the young magician. Yes. Although we have been attacked by a strange creature, in the end, we haven't had any problems. Besides, Natsum-chan's egg is already hatched, and a nice hawk has hatched from it. Amazing, isn't it? As I expected, the others have also been attacked by the untimely. Does this have anything to do with us making contact with them today? It may be. I am certain there are still traitors within Grigori. To my surprise, unlike Tobio accused, Natsum Minagawa has already awakened her sacred gear, and from its form I think I can say that it is one of the four fiends, Chionchi. That's perfect. Well, you can go back to the meeting point now. I'm going to call Rainier on my way there. Be careful on the road, Diarkin. I hung up with a smile on my face. Lavinia seems to be a very energetic and nice girl. She's the kind of girl you feel comfortable with when you're with her. Now, I have to see if Rainier's in trouble. I doubt that very much, but you never know what's going to happen as long as Rainier is involved in something. You're an idiot, Cookie Samejima. I told you to get out of here. My job is to give you the egg. I don't want to hear from you anymore. At least explain to me what this is all about. You appear out of nowhere. Give me an egg. Save me from a monster and leave. Without telling me anything. Rainier's familiar voice sounded through the electronic device. Next to her, the voice that seems to belong to Cookie Samejima, another of the targets. It seems that the mission has gone well for Rainier, to deliver the egg to Cookie Samejima. Still, everything else doesn't seem to be going so well. Rainier, I need help, Draco. This criminal keeps following me. I'm scared. Is this for real? You're a fallen angel with 2 pairs of wings. You're not useless trash anymore. How can you be afraid of a normal guy? Rainier passed the phone to the boy. I'm going to talk to him. Okay. I wait a few seconds until I hear the male voice again. Hello. You're Cookie Samejima, right? First, I have to confirm if Rainier has delivered the egg to the right target. Yes, that's me. Who are you? I'm the boss of the useless girl. I think it's better to ask you than her. What's your problem? Oh, so you're the boss. That solves a lot of things. Can you explain to me what the fuck is going on here? Can I know why a cat came out of the egg that the girl with the black wings gave me? So here's the problem. Well, what could I expect from Rainier? It's a long story. Follow Rainier to our base, and I'll explain everything there. I don't feel like explaining myself many times. It's okay. The place where we have set up our temporary base is none other than the apartment where Kuroka and I were living for a while. Yes, this is Valina's house. By coincidence, or maybe not, the apartment is in the city of Tobio's school. Once inside, I met Lavinia and Rainier, along with two other people I did not know, but I knew who they were. The tall boy looking like a gangster was Cookie Samejima, and on his legs was a white cat. The cat must be one of the four fiends, Tawu. The youthful-looking girl with her hair tied in a chignon is Natsum Managawa, and her sacred gear must be the hawk over her shoulder. I presume you're Natsum Managawa and Cookie Samejima. My name is Draco, and I'm the leader of this little group here. You'll meet them, but the beautiful blonde girl is Lavinia, and the idiot is Rainier. My little presentation receives different reactions from all the people present. Rainier seems a little upset that I called her an idiot, while Lavinia has a little smile that makes her beautiful face even more beautiful. Natsum has a flushed face while mumbling what seems to be a he is hot, and Cookie seems more indifferent than anything else. Well, you can ask me your questions. In short, they have your schoolmates captured, but their real target is you. The being who attacked you is a cheap copy of your classmates, merged with cheap copies of your new partners. The new partners I'm talking about are none other than their respective sacred gears. It's not a lie to say that cat and the hawk were going to be Natsum Managawa and Cookie Samejima's companions for the rest of their lives. You're the target of the Utsasimi agency, so you're in danger. Now, you can accept Grigori's protection, where we'll train you and give you the necessary support. Or you can go and survive by yourself. After explaining everything I know, some minor details will be missing, but I think all the basic details are covered. What exactly are these creatures? Cookie asked, pointing to the cat sitting on his legs and the hawk resting on Natsum's shoulder. To help you understand it better, I think it's best to explain to you what sacred gear is. A sacred gear, also known as God's artifact, are powerful items given to humans by the God of the Bible. So Hakshan is a sacred gear, Natsum mutters under her breath. That's right. More specifically, they're independent avatar sacred gears. Independent avatar sacred gears are sacred gears that take the form of a living being creature and move and act on their own will and instincts, yet always act for the benefit of their possessor. The sacred gears that you possess are among the best of this type of sacred gears, and are called the Four Fiends. You, Cookie, are the user of Tawu, while Natsum is the user of Kianki. This is a slightly longer explanation, but one that I still see as necessary. Cookie and Natsum don't seem to be people with mental problems, so I think with this explanation, they have the basics of their new companions. Hakshan is part of the Four Fiends. Hakshan? Well, I can't say anything about anyone's name, considering the name Tiamat gave me. Do you guys have a sacred gear like that? The question comes from Cookie, who had said practically nothing until now. Only humans can have sacred gears, and although Rainier is half human, she hasn't had the luck or misfortune to be born with one. Lavinia. Does Lavinia have sacred gear? I almost screwed up. No one has ever told me Lavinia's sacred gear, so it would be very strange if I knew that she possessed one of the 13 Longinus. I have one too, although I'd like to not talk about it. It seems that Lavinia has problems with absolute demise. It's common in DxD for characters to have problems related to their powers or their sacred gears, so it doesn't surprise me at all. Ito, Draco-san? When you said, only humans could have sacred gears. Natsum can't finish the question she was going to ask me, but I know exactly what she wants to ask me. That's right. We're not human. Oh, what race are you, Dracoant? Lavinia asks. It's true, she doesn't know my race either. Besides, it seems that my stealth is enough to hide my dragon aura from her. Me? I'm a dragon. At the same time, I turn off my stealth. All the dragon aura that was suppressed filled the house. It seems that the impact is much greater than I expected, for it is not only Cookie and Natsum who paled, but Lavinia is also affected by the sudden aura explosion. I think I just had a thought. I can create an impact on my opponent with an aura burst like this. Well, that's a subject for another time. I'm turning stealth back on. I don't want them to feel pressured by my presence. Rainier hasn't reacted at all, clearly because she's used to my aura. I waited a moment for them to catch their breath. That was shocking. Cookie mumbles once he's recovered. Natsum and Lavinia nod their heads, indicating that they agree with the boy. By the way, Dra, where's the other boy? Lavinia asks. Him? He's mentally weak, so I've given him some time to think about the situation. I understand your concern. I'm sure you think he'll be attacked again. But I'm telling you no, the agency can't do anything about him right now. They need to prepare for the attack and clear the area of witnesses. Given all this, they will attack tonight. That's my analysis of the situation, and I don't think I was wrong at all. For now, Big Brother Draco. A body falls on my back, hugging my neck from behind. Welcome home, Valina. Yes, she is none other than the female version of Valley in this parallel world. Although she returned to this house after we moved from Barrakeel's house to the underworld, you could say she practically lives with us. In fact, she sleeps 70% of the time with us in the house/hotel. And when I say she sleeps with us, I mean she sleeps with Kuroka and me. Yes, she argues a lot with Kuroka about that. Apparently, the excuse she gives is that because I'm a dragon, my aura syncs up with the divine dividing and helps her sleep better. Azazel told me you're going to be living here for a while. Is that true? That's right. Kuroka's packing our bags to set up here. Good. Valina is 14 this year, so she's between that stage of being a little girl and growing up a little bit. In fact, it's a little weird that Valina acts this way when we're in front of strangers. Why don't you say hello to the guests, Valina? Yeah. Valina jumps at the chance to realize that I'm not the only person in the room. Later she would know that because I had released my dragon aura, Valina had been so attracted to it that she had ignored the rest of the person within a 50-meter radius. She hadn't even noticed the rest of the people. Valina jumps the moment I mention there are more people in the place. Hey, so these are the weak ones Azazel was talking about. Her attitude and personality take a 180-degree turn. She seems like a totally different person. This new side of Valina is a mask she puts on to make herself look stronger and more intimidating. Although I don't think that's the right choice of words to introduce two new members of your team, Valina, especially since one of them seems to be in a bad mood. Who are you calling weak, little girl? That's right. Cookie jumps at the first provocation. This was something I expected from the moment the words came out of Valina's mouth. Obviously, you two, idiot. Do you want to fight? Cookie gets up and faces Valina. It's funny from a certain point of view since Cookie is only a little shorter than me while Valina doesn't exceed 150 centimeters. Valina seems a little pensive as she looks at Cookie when a wide smile appears on her face. Sigh. I know how all this is going to end. Valina Lucifer, the strongest white dragon emperor and the descendant of the morning star, never refuses a battle. I knew it. There's no way Valina would turn down a fight. Dearikin, you have to stop this. Lavinia comes to me. Why? Because Shark can't defeat VHon. He's going to take a beating? Shark? Are you talking about Cookie? Yes, because he has a shark-like mood, I've decided to call him Shark. Lavinia may be better at giving nicknames than Tiamat, but I don't think I'll let her name my future children. I'm afraid of what might happen if she names someone. Let them. This may be a good opportunity to show Natsum and Cookie what kind of world they're getting into. At my words, Lavinia sighs and steps back. 5 minutes later, Cookie lies on the ground, completely beaten. To say that Valina swept the floor with him is an understatement. Well, that's what I expected. Now it's getting dark, so I have to go see how Tobio is doing. The situation I find myself in when I get to Tobio's apartment is at least curious. The first thing I find is a Utsasimi in the shape of a spider climbing up the wall and climbing in through the window. What's more, I can feel at least one other Utsasimi inside Tobio's house. I could kill them both instantly, but I'm not going to do that at the moment. Natsum and Cookie have awakened their respective sacred gears at the same time as receiving the eggs, while Tobio has not yet awakened his Longinus. The reasons why Tobio has not yet awakened his Longinus may be several, but I opt for the option that it is more difficult to awaken a Longinus than a normal sacred gear. A near-death situation is usually the best way to awaken an occult power. Of course, I'm not going to leave Tobio alone. It would be a shame for him to die, as he may be a good helper in the future. For now, I'm going to watch from the shadows. After all, they can't find me if I want to hide from them. The Utsusimi spider is placed on the roof, just above Tobio's bed. The boy in question is in his bed, trying to fall asleep. I'm going to make that clear right now. The Utsusimis are stupid creatures. A little spider drool falls on Tobio's face, waking him up at once. Not only that, but the spider decides to talk. Found you. As simple as it was to kill Tobio. Scared, Tobio reacts by running out of the room, and I follow him around. In the hallway, we meet a girl and her Utsusimi, a giant frog. Are all Utsusimis giant animals? What is Tobio's reaction to this desperate situation? Locking himself in the bathroom. Like any horror film, Tobio has locked himself in the bathroom in the face of imminent danger. He has done it so quickly that I have been left outside and cannot see what is happening inside. Well, the Utsusimis are logically not going to stand still and go and destroy the door. When they do, I can see Tobio again, who is now hugging the egg I gave him this afternoon. But the egg is broken. Didn't sacred gear wake up from the egg? It seems Azazel isn't as foolproof as they say it is. The giant frog enters the bathroom and is about to attack Tobio. I think this is the perfect time to take action. Wait, I just felt it. It wasn't that Canis Lycaon couldn't hatch from the egg. It's that Canis Lycaon had already been awakened a long time ago. 16 years ago. 16 years ago has the seal I just felt break. Canis Lycaon manifested itself during Tobio's birth, and someone had to help him seal it. That's why Tobio hasn't been able to manifest his sacred gear through the egg. A sword emerges from Tobio's shadow and cuts the tongue of the Utsusimi, and pierces his body at the same time. Sigh. What a waste of experience. What comes out of Tobio's shadow is a dog puppy with black fur. The sword comes out of the puppy's forehead. I feel a movement in the room. To my surprise, it comes from the giant frog I thought was dead. Perfect, more experience for me. I come out of the shadows, and my arm begins to surround itself with a golden and black aura. Dragon Punch. The blow carried a shockwave with which it also killed the giant spider that wanted to enter the room. 200 experience points have been obtained. Because of the effects of title skill, Walking Egg. Another 200 experience points were obtained. 200 experience points have been obtained. Because of the effects of title skill, Walking Egg. Another 200 experience points were obtained. The level of Nephilim Dragon raised from 37 to 39. With the Utsusimis dead, now I just have to get Tobio out of here. Tobio's was in shock, still watching the dog. Once again, magical circles appear under the feet of the eliminated subjects. There's not even a sample of them left to send to Azazel. The only ones left are me, Tobio, and the little puppy. The dog then sniffs and looks in my direction. I must say, the dog is very adorable, incredibly adorable. And to think that one of the most terrifying and evil beings in mythology is locked up inside him. Bark! The dog barks in my direction and approaches me, stroking his body against my leg. He then goes towards his owner and stares at him curiously. Yours is impressive. I spoke unconsciously. What I meant was that the dog is impressive compared to the other two sacred gears. Tobio seems to come out of shock when he turns to look at me. Are you all right? You don't seem to have any injuries. Tobio sat on the spot, his mind inattentive, and replied, somehow. When the light faded, he mumbled the words, I wish you'd come a bit sooner. Third-person POV. After the series of attacks had ended, as Tobio emerged from the corridor, he looked toward the living room where Draco was sitting on the couch. They have attacked again tonight, just as I expected. It seems the agency is getting impatient with our interference. I like that because when you act quickly and without thinking, that's when you make the most mistakes. Still, you've been attacked by two of them at the same time. It must have been tough. Draco casually said that. Coming under the attack of by two people. And from this guy's perspective, the only word to describe it is tough. Currently, Draco was holding the black puppy on his hand. It seems that he was inspecting the depths of the soul of the puppy, since he was looking straight onto his eyes. The dog was just like Draco looking into his heterochromatic eyes. I wonder how much of your soul is left inside this sacred gear Lycan. Draco muttered a few words that Tobio could not quite understand at the time. Right now, Tobio's only concern was for Draco's own safety. Swords grow out of the dog's body. If Draco knew what Tobio was thinking at that moment, the only word he would have to describe him would be cute. But despite Tobio's worries, Draco held the puppy whose body was now free of blades. Wagging its tail like a normal puppy, it was being fawned on by Draco. That puppy's small body of jet black fur contained the potential to slaughter gods. Well, let's get out of here. Draco made such a proposal. Please, go pack some luggage, but only the basic necessities. Our opponent knows about your house. Besides, even if you defeated them once, after 1 hour, no, perhaps after 30 minutes they will attack again, right? Tobio agreed that the danger had only passed temporarily. With a commotion such as this, I wonder if someone reported it. Tobio suddenly spoke aloud such a thought. Right, the window was broken, and the bathroom had been destroyed up to the door. With such disruptive sounds, it would not be surprising if the nearby residents started an uproar. However, Draco only looked at him as he was looking at an idiot. They finished preparations before an attack, so such a commotion does not occur. Everyone would have remained asleep. They're just a group of strays. They would get eradicated if they got caught even once. Draco turned towards Tobio and says, "Let's go to your temporary home. The others are waiting for you." Temporary home? The others? Yeah, a place where you can be safe for the time being. For the others, they're just like you, students who have skipped the calamity. There you can get many questions answered, so let go. Draco palmed Tobio's back. Is there truly such a good place? I mean, we could clean up here. Shut up and go get your luggage ready. I don't have the whole night to spend with you. Tobio and Draco continued down the road late at night. Tobio was carrying 2 large bags, one on his shoulder and the other in his hand. These large bags, which back at the house had been filled with only the minimum necessary things, were being carried as he followed Draco, who was walking through the streets at night. At any rate, you won't get attacked with me here. Draco confidently says so, but it wasn't doing any good to Tobio. As Tobio carried the heavy luggage, he did his best to keep up with Draco's quick pace. To Tobio's rear, the puppy came following after him while trotting. Suddenly, Draco's expression completely changed. He directed his sharp gaze in Tobio's direction. His gaze was focused on what was behind Tobio. As Tobio looked back, he saw the black puppy that had been following him was directing its attention at the darkness just shy of the lamp's light and was baring its fangs menacingly. As it stared at the dark road with narrowed eyes, a gradually approaching figure appeared. They are attacking even with me here. I didn't know that they were so desperate. Well, that makes things easier for me. No way, Tobio uttered anxiously while gulping. Yeah, visitors. Utsasimi. A boy steadily approached, looking eerily emotionless, giving rise to a feeling that he lacked a spirit. By his side, there was a snake monster that had appeared from around the corner. Draco's longbow was already ready to launch an arrow. But before he could do so, suddenly a flame-like phenomenon wound around the snake's body. The serpent was blazing fiercely on the dark road, and with its body writhing, it was turned into charcoal. While Tobio was at a loss of words at this occurrence, Draco, upon seeing the phenomenon, let out a sigh. What a waste of experience. Draco's POV. The person who had eliminated the Utsasimi was none other than Lavinia. She had given me a KS all over my face, something I didn't think I would say once I came into this world. What are you doing here? I asked her. You were taking too long, so I came looking for you. Who knows? Something bad might have happened to you. Darren, Lavinia, dressed in a witch's costume, is so Enter inside. It was late at night when we got back to the apartment. Tobio still seemed a little lost, so we guided him into the apartment. 2 people were waiting in the living room. One of them is Natsu Managua, while the other, Draconia, it's none other than Kuroka. She jumps at the sight of me and would have thrown me to the ground if not for my supernatural strength. What are you doing, Kuroka? recharging my draconian's energies. I think it's best not to comment on any of this. While I have Kuroka hugging me, with her legs wrapped around my back, I introduce Tobio to the rest. The blonde girl with the witch's cosplay is Lavinia, and the beautiful student over there is Natsum. You and Natsum went to the same school, but I'm not sure if you knew each other or not. Tobio and Natsum's left to right head shake tells me they didn't know each other. Well, the lazy cat girl's name is Kuroka. Don't pay too much attention to her. She's just stupid. Tobio nods seriously, which almost makes me laugh. Kuroka, on the other hand, sticks her teeth into my neck in revenge for calling her stupid. I'm not stupid. You're the stupid one. What I was saying, she's a brainless idiot. Meanwhile, Lavinia and Natsum lean slightly towards Tobio as they say a please take care of me. Are you two in sync? By the way, where are the missing ones? Shark has gone home, although we tried to keep him from leaving after the fight with Valina. He said, I don't need your protection, and left. Valina and Rainier have returned to Grigori, as Azazel has called them both. Actually, he had called you, but since you weren't there, Rainier went in your place. So the Governor General wanted to talk to me. I guess it was to make a report on what happened. Speaking of the King of Rome, though I think it's better to say Queen in this case. The elevator, which connected Grigori to the apartment, opened, and Rainier entered the apartment. I'm back, and I have news. Rainier rushed into the room and practically ignored us all as she inserted a DVD into her respective player. What is that, Nya? You know curiosity kills the cat. It's something Azazel-sama gave me to show the students. A pity that Cookie is not here. This also interests him. Ah, you must be Tobio. I'm Rainier. Now let's see the video. Rainier hits play. We all start watching the video that appears on the TV screen. The Heavenly of Aloha incident. The luxury liner that Natsum and Tobio were supposed to have boarded. It had sunk along with their classmates, this ship with a divine name. Although the video had no sound, both students showed a complicated look. Both have been suffering these 2 months, carrying a mental wound from the loss of their classmates. The video changed. What the screen now showed, it was somewhere in a city environment. In the video, similar to those taken with a home video camera, a group of young men and women were shown. Is that? Yeah? Kojima. Tobio seemed to recognize the people in the video, which means that the people shown in the videos were the alumni of that school. Groups of young people were shown successively. There were many faces that both students recognized. Images of young people were shown successively, without pause. It was not 50 or 100, there were more. The video was showing people that Tobio and Natsum, until a moment ago, had believed their whereabouts to be unknown. However, the timestamp on the video was a digital number indicating a period in June just half a month ago. The 233 Rukoku High School sophomores still said to be missing. In reality, the chances of survival were practically non-existent. But, on the video in front of me, everyone whose whereabouts was unknown was alive and active. Half a month ago, Azazel knew more than he taught me. That bastard. I held back from insulting the Governor General as we continued to watch the video. Natsum and Tobio are showing different faces as the video progresses. Still, there is one that I recognize above the others. They are hopeful. Yeah, I've noticed the same one they have. There's a chance their closest friends are still alive. The Utsusimi agency may still be keeping the students alive. One of the male classmates was shown on the screen. There was a monster like a crocodile at his side. From the monster's mouth, a tongue languidly extended. No, it was a tentacle. Other classmates were shown on the screen leading a variety of different monsters, like the frog, spider, snake, and lizard he had just met. Some looked like huge insects such as moths and mantises. There were ominous monsters whose size was impossible to determine, and also those with distorted appearances. They were monsters almost like those out of movies and games. They were stretching their tentacle-like tongues, seizing a live pig. While the video had no sound, the appearance alone was tragic, as the monsters tore up the live pig and devoured it. Blood was dripping from the edge of the monsters' mouths. Each and every Utsusimi was a hideous monster with a very long tongue. And all the humans who accompanied them were nothing but artificial humans, failed attempts at homunculus. More of these Utsusemis were shown. These creatures, they were monsters with frightening special abilities and high physical capabilities. For a petty attack, it would not be possible to cut the flesh beneath the skin. Even if it was cut, their uncommon resilience would allow them to seal the wound immediately. For defeat, the nucleus or the head must be destroyed. It seems the nucleus is in the position which for a human would be called the heart. Their weaknesses were fundamentally no different than other living things. However, they were much sturdier than ordinary creatures. When the video stopped, Rainier talked again. This video, photographically documenting the truth of these peculiar roots, has been kept hidden by people like us. By no means is this CG, nor is it acting. They are the Rukuka High School sophomores who went missing in the maritime disaster. Your classmates. And now, they are controlling genuine monsters. Paired with their monster, they apparently are named Utsusemi. Rainier said so indifferently. It seems that Azazel has explained her a little bit. Lavinia continued. By Utsusemi, we mean things like imitations created by a certain organization existing in this country, people with artificial supernatural abilities. They would be categorized as something like Inu Tsukai, special ability users. They are being manipulated by the organization. Rainier continues giving information. Right now, even this information is essential to me. The Utsusemi, the operators that control the monsters, their bodies are only able to function as a set. In those bodies, our classmates who participated in the trip, there are 233 of them. The human bodies aren't fake. They are the real ones. So, we have to focus on the monster instead of the master. This is especially for you, Draco. How? Are they using the students' real bodies for the Utsusemis? This was not something I expected. I really believe that they were using fake copies of the students to create the Utsusemi. And they returned to Japan for the sake of killing the surviving students. This is no joke. Tobio's few words of reproach. It was natural, of course. It's because he was being targeted by classmates who become monsters. It must be shocking for him to become the target of his former colleague's elimination. And more so, considering that his childhood friend was among them. There's no doubt you will continue to be targeted in the future. They have been directed to target you who survived by not participating in the trip. It's because the organization that's manipulating them from the shadows desires to obtain you by any means. Just a moment. Why are they targeting us? Oh, that's right. I forgot to explain the situation to him. All I told him was that he was the target of the Utsusemis, but I didn't tell him why. Sacred treasures. They are called sacred gears. So to speak, they are unusual powers called that. However, these are natural. You were born with this power. It's also not such a rare thing. Many of those whose names have been recorded in history, as well as modern-day successful athletes, have unknowingly possessed such power. However, for its distinct form to be realized, it is a necessary condition that one possess a certain amount of ability. Lavinia spoke indifferently. She seemed to be suffering from judgment from elsewhere. To say it in even more complete detail, the creatures you and Natsum were born with are classified as independent avatar type sacred gears. And the Utsusemi are artificial imitations of independent avatar type sacred gears. I explained. Rainier proceeded with the story without regard. The organization that uses the Utsusemi desired to obtain something like you by any means. Your abilities, which could not be taken at the destination, are absolutely necessary to them. To that end, they exerted influence over that trip to make use of the students of Rukuka High School, causing their whereabouts to become unknown. They seem to have believed that such a change in circumstances would be good for them. By using your classmates, I wonder if they're thinking they could entice you into being careless. And now, those that are being manipulated, that last one tried to attack you by himself. That seems to be the case. What do you mean by seems to and something like that you've been saying for a while? Who taught Rainier-san these things? Tobio asked this to Rainier as she removed the DVD from the player. With the DVD in one hand, she spoke. I was taught by the person who gave me this. It's our Governor General. When I received this video footage, I received this explanation. For Natsum and Tobio, neither could hide their agitation. What kind of person is he? This Governor General? He is a troll. I think for your mental well-being, it's better that you don't know. You'll know in the future. For now, focus on surviving. And don't forget to take good care of your new mates. They're the only ones who will never turn their backs on you. There's just one thing I'd like to ask everyone. Are our fellow classmates still alive? Tobio could not consent to this non-anticipatable, unilateral theft of his classmates. They've been converted in Utsasimi or something to command the monsters. It was their fault. And the answer to that question, I think only Azazel and Rainier by extension could know. And Rainier was smiling broadly. Yeah, they're alive. So that's why Azazel was so sure these students were going to try something. Now, they're going to want to rescue their friends because that's how all Japanese teenagers are. And my job here is to support them and by extension rescue all the other teenagers. All I can say is, I'm going to farm EXP. And you're going to help us? Natsum asks. Of course. After all, isn't it anxious about being alone? Against some 200 or more people. There are not even 10 students who survive the trip by not participating. It's a simple calculation. That's a quota of more than 20 or 30 for each individual. Well, I can go against everyone on my own, but those weren't my orders. And I can get out-handed and end killing your little friends. Besides, will you be able to fight your old partners? I mean, they're going to come in here to kill you, you know? There might come a time when your best friend tries to kill you, and you're going to have to defend yourself. Can you do that? Natsum and Tobio show some complicated faces after listening to me. They have to accept reality. This is not a game. There are lives at stake, and they have to be aware of that. Of the two that were attacking me, the one in glasses was my close friend. Since the beginning of high school, I've been together with that friend forever. She aimed to kill me without any hesitation. Again and again I cried out to stop, but that girl was just filled to the brim with murderous impulse. Now that I'm informed about the circumstances, it is clear that something is born inside me. That girl is alive. If they're alive, then I can save them. Even Akiyuzuko's thoughts must have reached the same conclusion. Natsum declared her decision to resolve herself to occasionally fight those classmates. I'll save them, all of them. Tobio's declaration was strong. Resolution and determination were born in his mind. His objective was decided. Yeah. Natsum smiles at Tobio's answer. With all this, it seems the children have found their determination. The next day, I welcomed a new day with a nekashu in my arms. Kuroko was sleeping in my bed once more, using my arm as a pillow. Today I have work again, as much as I don't want to. That boy, Cookie, had left in too much of a hurry. Not that I care whether he lives or dies, but my mission is to keep everyone safe. Well, I guess I'll send some of them out to look for him, but I have this feeling that he will be attacked by Utsasimi, so I am very tempted to follow them. I need all the experience I can get, because when I'm done with this, I'm going with Mordred to the Holy Grail War. My level of power can't reach that of a servant, as I am using Mordred as a base for comparison with other servants. The first stop, once we get to the Naciverse, will be Fate/Zero, where there are very powerful servants. Castor, Bluebeard, or Gillis de Rice. Probably the weakest of all the servants, but his noble phantasm and his personality make him a dangerous enemy. I think Mordred could easily defeat him. I remember Artoria couldn't defeat him because one of her arms had been disabled by Lancer. Assassin, Hassan of the 100 Faces. His skills are not many, aside from the fact that he has a large number of bodies. Other than serving as a reconnaissance unit, not much was shown of this servant in Fate/Zero. In my opinion, a competitor with Bluebeard for the weaker servant in Fate/Zero. Easy prey for Mordred. Lancer, Diarmuid Ua Duibni. One of the most dangerous opponents in this Holy Grail War. He possesses two noble phantasm, his two spears, and it is said that his raw power surpasses even that of Siu Chulin. However, the latter would defeat him if the battle took place in Ireland. Berserker, Lancelot. He is a monster, an overpowered character. The strongest of the Knights of the Round Table. He shows that he can outdo King Arthur himself in many moments of the series. He can face Gilgamesh and his Gate of Babylon, and he does it more than once. Rider. Iskandar, Alexander the Great, the king of conquerors, one of the three kings involved in the Holy Grail War, and one of the most powerful servants. He is one of the 3 5-star servants participating in the war and owns 2 noble phantasms. The most dangerous of these is a marble reality similar to Yemaiwa's, but instead of swords, it contains an army of heroic spirits. Archer, Gilgamesh, King of Heroes. As a servant, he is not the most powerful in terms of parameters, but once his noble phantasm comes into play, few can stop him. His Gate of Babylon is an MP that can easily win wars. And if Gate of Babylon isn't enough, he just has to get EA out to clean up the battlefield. Fortunately, he's too arrogant. Saber. The last of the servants summoned is none other than King Arthur himself, or rather King Artoria. If she has a good master, there is no other servant who can defeat her in close combat. In fact, she is defeated by Berserker in Fate/Stay Night because Shiro is a horrible master. Kiritsugu is better than Shiro as a master. Still, even he cannot give Artoria all the magical energy she needs. She can only show her full potential when she is under the command of Rin, a magician with more than 1,000 magic energy units. Considering that these are our enemies in the War of the Holy Grail, I believe that the more I level up, which translates into more power for Mordred, the better. I also have 10 fate points that I should be spending now to prepare for war. But right now is not the time, as there is one more person in the room. And I'm not talking about Kuroka. Lifting the sheets, I find myself with the blue eyes and blonde hair of a certain witch. Good morning. Wearing a single white button-down shirt was the figure of a blonde-haired girl. It was Lavinia. Good morning, Lavinia. I hope that you had slept well. I'll leave out the fact that I didn't even notice when she got into bed. What had now burst into my vision was the visibly snow-white skin of her thighs and her voluptuous breasts. Since it was just a single dress shirt, Lavinia's legs were almost completely exposed. A scene that practically every boy would want to see in the morning. With the sunlight flowing in from the window, the white dress shirt appeared to be transparent. Without bearing any mind, Lavinia spoke while rubbing her eyes while half asleep. Last night I got up to go to the toilet. The next thing I noticed is that I was in this bed. I'm not stupid. I'm not going to believe something so excessively ambiguous. Is something the matter? She asked. No, I think we should get up. We have to work today. I say so, and Lavinia agrees with me. Draconia. Kuroka's voice startled Lavinia. Since the Nekashu was on my back, Lavinia couldn't see her. Kuroka, it's time to have breakfast. It's impossible to wake Kuroka using normal means, so I usually use food to wake her up. If there's anything Kuroka loves more than sleep, it's my food. Breakfast. With a jump, Kuroka got out of the bed. Her yukata was losing a bit, and most part of her breasts and thighs can be seen. With her and Lavinia, I can see that my breakfast is already being served. Kuroka then narrowed her eyes when she noticed the other girl on the bed. What are you doing here, witch? Yeah, she is pissed off. Sleep? Lavinia tilted her head. She seems utterly confused, like she couldn't understand Kuroka's source of anger. Now, stop it already, Kuroka. I'm going to make breakfast, and you aren't getting anything if you don't behave properly. Moo! She pouted.